Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Common Tongue Podcasts. Today, we have a return guest with Trackpad, who is the esports manager over at Aquatik Esports. We talk about a lot of anime today, so just be prepared for that. A lot of nerd talk. We also just talk about how anime has changed. We talk about the golden eras of anime and of manga. And I genuinely had a lot of fun talking about this kind of stuff. It's always fun talking anime with another person who really enjoys it. So hopefully you enjoy this. Maybe you'll stick around for more. Keep an eye out at the end of the episode because we have some announcements, kinda, not really. I'm working on some stuff, like always, but just stick around for that. There might be some interesting stuff there. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to another mediocre attempt at a podcast here at the Common Tongue Podcasts. I am joined by a return guest who I think we're going to have a really fun and not necessarily controversial, but I think we have our hot takes on this subject. So please, sir, if you would be ever so kind, please reintroduce yourself.
For those of you who may have missed me the last time around, my name is Trackpad. Actual name Devlin Nipper, but Trackpad's a lot easier to remember than that. I'm the esports manager over at Aquatik Esports, and I had a lot of fun the last time around, so I'm really excited to get in here and talk about our hot takes, as we call them.
Heck yeah, man. And to everybody, this is our finale, too. This is the finale episode of our aquatic season. So you have that going. You have that under your belt, that you're the last episode. So,
Right on.
So today, what are we talking about?
Well, if the information you left at the package on my doorstep is correct, that suspicious-looking letter made out of newspaper cutouts looked like it said we're talking about anime today.
Heck yeah. But specifically, and this is how I specifically got him to agree to a second episode, was One Piece. We're starting with One Piece.
You got me with my all-time favorite.
And here's the thing. It is very good. I personally liked One Piece up until about probably chapter 700 something.
I think, when was that? That was probably during Dressrosa, wasn't it?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. The very last episode I recall seeing, I don't know if it counts up to the same with the manga, but the last episode I remember seeing was Zoro being trained at like the graveyard castle, kind of.
Oh, so you haven't been watching since right after Marineford ended, like in the mid 500s for episodes.
Oh, then probably not. Yeah, that was the last thing I ever remember watching.
Okay, so yeah, you were just before the return to Sabati Archipelago arc. That's pre-time skip stuff.
There's a time. All right, cool. This is good.
Yep, right when you left off, there was a time skip right after you left off. So
okay, all right, hold on, wait. Let's start off by informing those at home who are not familiar with One Piece about what is One Piece. So, how good is your One Piece trivia?
Pretty good. I don't claim to be, your Grand Line Review or Teching 101 level of One Piece aficionado, but
right.
I've been watching for 16 years. I've been reading for 12 years. I'm pretty well versed in it.
Okay, so let's start off with this. Who's it written by?
That would be the one and only Eiichiro Oda himself.
Okay. When did... so technically this is when it was serialized. When was it serialized in Shonen Jump?
One Piece made its first appearance in 1997. The Romance Dawn one-shot that predates One Piece was, I believe, 1995 or 96.
Oh, snap. That's not even on the Wikipedia.
Big fan.
A big fan, yeah, apparently. Yeah, there is... Hold on. I wonder. Because... Yeah, I'm not even kidding. On the Wikipedia page, it has nothing to do with... So what was it called? The one shot?
Romance Dawn. Ichiro Oda did it for a manga-related competition, and you see a lot of really similar character designs to what are present today. You see the original version of Luffy, a character that looks an awful lot like Nami, but with blue hair appears. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. Shanks doesn't even appear. Garp is actually the one who gives him the straw hat because Garp's a privateer in the one shot. So
Oh.
it's a bit of a shift, and Luffy, instead of wanting to be the king of the pirates, wants to become basically a privateer, a pirate that attacks
Yeah.
other pirates in the name of justice, kind of thing. It's interesting to say the least. It actually got adapted into an episode in like the 890 range, somewhere in that ballpark.
Really? So they just did one just because?
Yeah, it does predate One Piece as far as the manga goes, so it was Oda's kind of like first foray into it. And
Ooh.
then the episode was made kind of like as a filler episode in the later 800s, early 900s range.
Okay. Okay. So, did you know that it has two versions
Two versions of Romance Dawn or two versions of One Piece?
of Romance Dawn? Yeah.
Yes, I've read the version that I was talking about earlier. I have not been able to find the other version
The second
for some
version?
reason. For some reason, that's been kind of elusive for me, and maybe I'm just not looking in the right place.
That's super interesting. That I never knew that it was a one shot originally, but that makes sense. A lot of popular manga were originally one shots, and then they liked that idea, and then they serialized it in Shonen Jump or whatever was, whatever magazine or publication that they wanted to.
Yeah,
Shonen Jump, I remember borrowing Shonen Jumps from a friend of mine whenever he didn't want me to borrow his actual volumes of manga. So I remember I had the same Shonen Jump for like a year. And it had Bobobo in it. It had Naruto. It was the fight. Uh, it was right after the Chunin exam got attacked, and they were fighting in the forest in the trees when you first learned about like Shukaku. And I, for the life of me, I can't. Those are the two main things that I remember. That it was Bobobo and Naruto. That was it. That's all I remember from that one Shonen Jump. All right, here, next piece of trivia. When Okay, first off, who produced the anime?
production, well, now I'm trying to think. Because technically, One Piece is handled by Shonen Jump, Shueisha, and Toei Animations, and I'm pretty sure Toei's been handling it since the start.
Yeah, Toei Animation. It's been produced. So when did it begin broadcasting it in Japan?
The first episode was released in 1999, same year that the first episode of SpongeBob was released.
That's a horrible realization that I didn't really want, but thank you for that fact anyway. When did it release in North America?
I'm trying to think. Because I first saw it through a website that was airing Japanese cartoons
Mm-hmm.
online, websites that probably someone at my age probably shouldn't have been on, not because of the content, but because God knows what computer viruses I
Yeah,
may have
right.
installed. But but I think the original North American adaptation was due to the Four Kids acquisition of it, which would put it in the early 2000s. I want to say 2001, 2002.
That's almost dead on. So it was licensed by Four Kids in 2004.
Okay. I mean, I'll never forgive Four Kids for the crap they pulled with One Piece, but
That's fair because here's the thing. I didn't know this recently, but I remember one of my favorite animes that I ever came across, and subsequently the manga was Shaman King. I love Shaman King so much. It's so good. Like the idea and the story behind it were phenomenal to me. And Four Kids was like all right with it. Like they did it okay. I just found out that they re-released it this year. Like they're re-releasing episodes for Shaman King.
that's exciting.
And it's so good. It's amazing. So if you ever like Shaman King, I highly recommend. I think you can actually find like the website. There's an actual Shaman King website that you can watch it from, which is amazing. Um hold on. I want to go in. I want to go on that tangent real quick. So, Four Kids was my entire weekend, basically. Like Saturday cartoons were all Four Kids. So, what do you remember from Four Kids?
I remember Four Kids Yu-Gi-Oh was all right. I went back and watched what it's supposed to be and then realized what they changed. And, it wasn't as bad. But I remember just vehemently hating Four Kids One Piece because I knew what they were changing and it was just so bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. It's no it's not an underestimation to say that Four Kids severely stunted the growth and catching on of One Piece in North America for several years. The lasting damage from the adaptation they did and the changes they made ruined its chances early on. Meanwhile, Dragon Ball and Naruto really caught on around that same time, but One Piece just had the rug pulled out from under it.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I don't miss Four Kids.
I don't think anyone does.
I remember. So I remember, Dragon Ball, Kirby. What was it? Kirby Right Back at Ya. I think that's what it was called.
That sounds about right.
It was Kirby Right Back at Ya. Sonic X.
Oh man, now you're taking me down memory lane even further.
Sonic X. Dragon Ball. I think GT was on there at one point too, wasn't it?
I think so.
And then Shaman King, Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't think Pokemon ever made it onto Four Kids, did it?
I don't know because the one thing I remember is the onigiri was the jelly donuts in the American adaptation of Pokemon. But I don't remember if Four Kids were the ones who were behind the North American production of Pokemon or not.
Oh, no, yep, right here. The first anime that Four Kids Productions dubbed was the first 8 seasons of Pokemon. But that aired on Kids WB.
Yeah, that's where I remember Pokemon from, was watching it on public television. So
yeah. Oh, that's right. That was where Animaniacs and all that. Yeah. Oh, this is taking me back now. Oh crap! They made a Beautiful Joe anime.
Something about that doesn't surprise me.
Something about that seems very wrong to me. For some reason.
It seems wrong, but it also just sounds too right to not exist.
Oh, wait a minute. They also did Cardcaptor Sakura?
I did not know that.
Oh, wait, this is later years.
Okay.
So this is from 1999 to around 2006. That was when, so the anime series for Cardcaptor Sakura, it was 70 episodes, and it aired in Japan 1998. So it was around that era. So like the tail end of the 90s to the beginning of the 2000s, which honestly, that was the perfect era for anime, I think. Was like 1998-ish, like in that area, to about 2009. That was in my head, the golden age of anime.
You're kicking off that era with the big three in Dragon Ball, Naruto, and One Piece. So, you have those three piloting the start of that, and then all the different shows and series that have come along since then. It's crazy to think how far we've come from those three, right?
No, genuine. I mean, not even just... Okay, so here's a main question. In terms of quality, in terms of the quality of animation, do you think that since that era, since that golden age, like in the mid 2000s, because that was when, because let's be real here, the pilots and about the first seasons of Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball weren't the greatest, or Dragon Ball Z, but finally when they got to about like the mid storyline territory, that was when I really started to enjoy the animation. So for me, it was the Cell Saga for Dragon Ball. It was, oh man, what was it for me in Naruto? I mean, technically, after, I think personally for me, I think the story and the animation got worse with Shippuden in some cases. Most notably for me, the fight with Pain. I hated the fight with Pain. because I thought that animation quality was garbage. But then for the most part, it was relatively decent for Naruto. And One Piece, I think that when after he got the training for hockey, that was when I really started to enjoy the animation styles that they were doing and like what they were doing with the animation in One Piece.
Yeah, I remember for me, One Piece has always had a weird relationship with me because there was like that nostalgic golden era of the animation from the
Mhm.
start right up until about the end of the Alabasta arc in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And then the animation does improve, but it kind of slipped into this weirdly inconsistent spot starting at about Water 7 when Nico Robin goes missing and is almost taken away by the world government,
Mhm.
up until about the end of Dressrosa, which is the Doflamingo saga.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, it was good. It had its moments, but it was also inconsistent. Facial expressions would be weirdly off. Character models
Interesting.
looked really, really strange at times.
Yeah.
Angles and things. It would make certain characters look like their arms belonged on a giant kind of thing. And then Whole Cake Island and Reverie and Wano have been absolutely fantastic and have continued to go up. Actually, the most recent episode 982, just broke the top 20 on IMDb for the highest rated episodes of television of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
So not
So,
even just in anime, but just in television in general.
yes, I
That's
I was very
wild.
impressed.
Hold on, I
It's
want to see that list now. So this is IMDb's
As I recall, it was through IMDb.
top 20 TV shows.
That's what I recall. Episode 982 of One Piece, Kaido's trump card, Here Comes the Toby Ropo, or something like that is what it's called. The name of the episode.
Okay. So, okay. I think I hit the wrong list because these are the top 20 TV series ever. Which, just out of curiosity, can you guess the first two?
No. I'm not gonna know.
Top 20 TV series. I'm not surprised by either of these. Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad.
Okay, I'm not surprised either. I really liked Breaking Bad when I was still watching it.
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad was it was a fun one. Now I'm trying to find the
Yeah, I'm trying
list.
to.
Pretty sure it was IMDb.
Oh man, because I'm just purely. Oh, okay. Here we go. TV episode rating count by at least 1,000. Those are the top 1,000 episodes.
What I
Uh,
had last seen, it was in the top 20.
I don't think this. I don't think this list has it specifically because a lot of these episodes aren't really making sense to me. But
Yeah, I'm trying to locate the exact list, and I'm having a hard time finding it.
yeah, I don't. Anyway, I'll believe you. I'll believe you at that because
It's by far the highest rated episode of One Piece on IMDb.
okay, I will also believe that as well. But okay, so in terms of just pure animation, like not even by what you consider to be good storyline or whatever, what is the best animation that you've seen from that era?
From
1999 to like 2009ish, that 10-year period, that golden era.
that's hard to pin down.
Because I have a really close pairing for first place.
I think for me, the animation style that really caught me the most in that time was probably the Cell Saga of Dragon Ball Z. That
Hmm.
that really, I love the way the art style was done. I love the fluidity of the motions in that series of events. It was very nicely done for me, at least.
For me, it was a mix between the Cell Saga and Full Metal Alchemist. For some reason, every time I watch Full Metal Alchemist, not Brotherhood, the original Full Metal Alchemist, in my head, that is always like the master class in animation. For some
Oh,
reason,
absolutely.
just that's the first example I go to. Is like this was the best animation to come out of that era. That being said, I recently started watching it again, and I know that you saw it because I saw you like it or retweet it or something on Twitter. Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zero. Oh my god.
It is
It is
breathtakingly well done.
so good. And like to think that it came out in 2007 blows my mind.
Yeah, Mobile Suit Gundam just it got slept on,
It really
and
did.
like it's earned high praise from those who know about it, but it deserves so much better because that for the time is groundbreakingly good.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I don't know how I remember this, but I remember growing up when I lived in Idaho as like between the ages of like when I was born to maybe 4. I very distinctly remember we watched Pokemon, Sailor Moon, and Gundam. I don't remember which Gundam, but it was around the era of like 1995 to 1998, 97 ish, maybe even 1999. So I remember watching those, and I was like, "Oh man!" Like I used to love Gundam. Like the idea of these giant space mechs that you could pilot and fly around in and fight in. I loved that idea. And then for some reason I completely forgot about Gundam. And then a friend of mine was like, Exia is the best Gundam ever of all time. And I was like, I've never heard of Exia. Like I've seen the suit and I know the name Exia, but I don't know what you're talking about. I never got context. And then they told me to watch Double Zero, and it blew me away then. And it's still like I started watching it again because I forgot it existed 2 days ago. And I got through like 6 episodes and I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about this series. And I think the iteration that is called Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. I think that's the latest one that everybody's been going crazy on.
Sounds about right.
I don't know. Did you have a favorite Gundam by chance?
No, I didn't. I didn't get very invested into it because I was so just caught up in One Piece that I couldn't
Mhm.
even imagine going toward anything else.
I mean, that's fair because okay, so for anybody who does not know, if you can't tell from the scope of the dates, the serialization started in 1997. So it's as old as my youngest brother at this point. And it was, I believe, Shonen Jump was a monthly serialization, right? That
I think
sounds right.
Shonen Jump, it may have been monthly at the time, but I think it's been weekly for a while now, so I don't really know for sure.
I was about to say, I know that there was a um I know that there's been monthly and weekly serializations. Or maybe I'm making that up. Because okay, if I'm going to be 100% honest, a lot of the information that I know about the anime and manga territory actually comes from Bakuman, if you know what that is.
I've heard it before, but I'm not 100% familiar, unfortunately.
So Bakuman is an anime specifically about a mangaka, a kid in high school who dreams about becoming a mangaka, and then he goes through the whole process of like writing these different series and getting them serialized and then not getting them serialized and going through like one shots and animes, and it's really really fascinating. It's super good. I highly recommend that if nobody's read it, um to read it or watch it. I know it was made into an anime, uh but that was where I learned about a lot of, I guess, differences within that community and within that realm of business as well. And again, it's probably romanticized a little bit because it is a manga about it, but I felt like it was really really well done. If you've never, I like I said, if you've never read it or watched it, I highly recommend it. It's super super interesting.
I'm gonna have to check that out after this because I've seen tongue-in-cheek kind of things that poke fun at other animes and other mangas, but I've never seen one. I feel like I've seen clips of the animation of it, but
Hmm.
I know I haven't read it. And reading it, the first-hand experience is going to be the more valuable one. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely have to check it out if I get the chance.
So just learned this. So apparently, Weekly Shonen Jump began production in 1968, which is
It's been
crazy to
going for
me.
a while.
Yeah, it's been going for a while. Um, but that was a weekly production. So think of it that way. If this started in 1968 and this was a weekly thing and it's been going since 1997, you said 1990, July 1997.
97 would have been the first issue of One Piece. Yeah.
Okay, so that's halfway through the year. So let's just say they started at the beginning of July, right? July, August, September, October, November, December. So that's roughly 24 weeks. That's 24 chapters, but that's 52 chapters a year. Maybe that number is not as big as I think it is.
I mean, for One Piece at least, chapter 1019 comes out this Sunday at the time of recording. So
Maybe it is bigger than it. Maybe that logic in my head still does work, because coming out, because here's the thing, each chapter depends on how many pages it has, right?
yeah,
Because I know that it can depend on whether or not it's a front page, um what is the word? I mean, it's basically like a front page story on a newspaper, right? Whether or not
a
it hits
cover
the front
story.
page. Yeah, a cover story. Thank you. I know that changes, or can change, how long it's supposed to be. But you look at like the panels and the artwork and the inking and the drawing and everything that goes into it, doing what, 20 pages for one chapter, maybe around there, maybe even 15. That's a lot of work to do in 1 week.
Absolutely.
So,
It's no secret the amount of struggles that mangakas go through to create their product. I mean, just recently the passing of the mangaka of Berserk, and that is
oh my
regarded as one of
god.
the most beautifully designed mangas of all time. So you
It
can only
no,
imagine the workload that that particular author had to put himself through on a regular basis.
genuinely, Berserk is so good. It's amazing. It's not. I will say it's not for everybody. It is a little bit on the darker side.
Extremely.
Kentaro Miura, I think his name was. Yeah,
That
Kentaro
sounds right.
Miura. That was released in. Okay, the TV series was serialized in 1997, but it first came out in 1988. That was the prototype of Berserk. Um, the series began the following year. Oh man, this is. I've never actually looked at the history of this. This is very interesting.
A lot of these all-time classics, things like Berserk and One Piece, and the list goes on. But you look more at the history of them, and you just get blown away by the longevity and the quality over time, especially with the manga.
Oh, especially with the manga. Like, you have, in my head, the first 10 chapters in a manga, especially back in the day, are not necessarily the best in terms of quality of the drawing, but you can tell that there is a lot of work that goes into it. And then as time goes on, that style gets cemented and refined, and eventually becomes what it is, towards the end of the manga. With Berserk, I genuinely liked the animation, not the animation style, the drawing style from the beginning. It was very, very well done. And I liked that it had that darker, he used a lot of darker tones and a lot of darker shading in the chapters that I read, and it worked amazingly. His concepts were super, super interesting in my head.
I agree.
I think, man,
It's
when did
just
I?
such a good series.
It really, really is. Uh, I think Guts is the coolest main character, just because, like, he had a super, super crappy backstory. It's horrible. It's awful and depressing. But the just how he built him as a character model was super, super good in my head. I loved his Dragon Slayer sword. Um, what he did with his arm and the armor, and just like his design was so, so clean.
I agree. And beyond the design, even from the character standpoint, having the tragic hero is a trope that gets seen in literature throughout history, and it's one of the more poignant archetypes that you'll see. So seeing that play out so well is just chef's
Yeah,
kiss.
no, yeah. It checks so many different boxes in your head where you're just like, oh, this is so good. But I think one thing that I love, especially from that genre, was like the anti-hero, where you had these characters who were a villain, but then kept like those qualities, but started to become a hero. So the classic example that I always think of was Vegeta,
Oh,
from Dragon Ball
absolutely.
Z. He was the main anti-hero that everybody was like, Vegeta's the coolest, man. He was this bad guy, and now he turned good, but he's still kind of rough and gruff around the edges. I kind of love that trope in early anime and in early manga. I thought it was super, super good.
Yeah, I mean, even in One Piece, that played out with Sir Crocodile. He was introduced in the Alabasta arc as the main antagonist of that arc, and then later comes back to be a major player and a hero of sorts in the Marineford arc.
Oh man,
It
dude.
it plays
Oh
out
my
so well
god.
across so
Yeah,
many
dude.
different things.
I just thinking back on it too. I remember there was a time where I really really craved those chapter releases. Specifically, that was when I also found one of my favorite serializations ever. It wasn't even Japanese. Um, but I remember I would wait every week for the new chapters for Tales of Demons and God to come out. Which is personally, it's one of my favorite series ever. It's a Chinese manhwa, and the art is very good. The story's immaculate. All I'm waiting for is them to animate it because that
And
it
hopefully do
deserves
it
it.
well.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I didn't know this. On Netflix, there's actually uh, a Chinese series that got an anime. It finally got an animation to it, and
Excellent.
it's super interesting because it falls in that realm of like wuxia, where you have like the cultivation based thing, but it's very technologically advanced, and it's really interesting seeing like how they fuse those. And I was finally like, I don't care. I finally have a Chinese anime that I can practice my Chinese with. But I think they did it with the King's Avatar. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
As I've heard the name before, but it's slipping my mind exactly what it was.
It, I think it also, I don't think it was an animation. I don't think it got an anime, but I know it got like a TV show with it. And I think it was like a live action. Basically, think of it as like an MMO that is also based on like esports.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, you have these teams that are built within this MMO, and you basically just go in head to head battles against other teams. And so one of the main players on this team, he was super good. He was a spear user, and he was considered one of the top esports players in this game. And basically what happened was he got kicked from the team. The game released a new server and was like, I'm just going to start over on my own with what I know from the bottom and then work my way back up to the top. And I really like the manhwa. The manhwa was really good. It was really interesting. I don't really think that the show gave it justice because in the artwork that the manhwa had, there's a lot more details. And the way that they did it was kind of like a computer CGI animation style. And it didn't really fit that well with how I think that the author was trying to portray it. But that's just my opinion. And I think it's really hard to get all of that detail, which is why I know some people get so disappointed in anime, is because there are certain details that you want to be in the animation that sometimes you just can't do.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know. Did
That
you?
that that plays out across One Piece also
I
from
was
my
gonna ask.
experience with
Yeah,
that. The big problem with that is the pacing hit like a grinding halt often because instead of doing One Piece as a seasonal thing, the likes of your say Doctor Stone. Doctor Stone's
hmm
done on a seasonal release schedule, and it's absolutely amazingly well done. My wife and I just started getting into Doctor Stone, and we're in the first season of it,
it's
and
super good. The idea
loving it.
behind it's very, very interesting. I really
Exactly.
the same thing with like Cells at Work. Did you ever watch Cells at Work?
I have seen Cells at Work.
Those are okay. This is I don't know if this is a hot take. I personally think there need to be more science based manga and anime, like 100%.
Absolutely. Especially after the success of Cells at Work and Dr. Stone, like the market's wide open on it. There's not very many other mangaka doing stories of that nature, so
I think the
why
problem with it
not?
though is that you have to be able to back up the science. Because the thing that I like about Cells at Work and Dr. Stone is that it's very scientifically accurate.
Yeah, it's based in reality. It's
Yeah.
not fictional science.
And I think that's the problem is that you if you want to go into like deeper science, or even like anything that has to do with like STEM, you have to be very precise or else people are going to tear it apart. And I think that's the problem that you get is that there's so much research that has to go in before you can start writing a story.
Yeah, finding people who are that knowledgeable and also that artistically inclined, or getting a team of those kind of people together is a tricky challenge to overcome.
Yeah, definitely. Hey there, everybody. I want to take a minute to thank today's sponsor, GameAware. Now, if you can't tell from the name, they're a gaming clothing and accessory brand that's specifically focused on the gaming industry. All their products are eco friendly and are really high quality, and they're also making sure that they're part of a sustainable fashion movement. Their core values are eco consciousness, collaboration, and innovation. Now, here's where it gets really good. They have some really, really good collections. Their first edition collection is really nice. I personally have their Explorer tee. I love that so much. The graphic design on that is impeccable. They also have their signature range, which has their logo and their name on it. They also have their custom 2021 Gamerwear jersey. You can customize it with your gamer tag and with a personal number, and it comes with all the branding of Gamerwear. They also have their own multi-link site called gamer.tv. It's gmr.tv. I love it. I personally use it so much. It just looks really, really clean. It looks really good. So if you're interested on upgrading how you look on stream or just on the street, check out Gamerware. And if you'd like to save 10% off of your order at gamerware.com, make sure you put in code TCT10 at checkout to save 10% on your entire purchase. And now, let's just get back to the episode. I don't know. I always, for me, whenever I think of like classic, not even necessarily anime and manga, but just like stories that I keep thinking about that I forgot existed, but for some reason I loved so much, were the stuff that weren't as well known by those main authors. So, for example, I love Fairy Tale, right? Fairy Tale was so good. I love the idea behind it, the dragon slayers and the dragon magic, super good. Have you ever read Rave Master?
I have heard of it. I have not read it.
So good. So good. It's so slept on. Same thing with Akira Toriyama, who, as everybody should know, did Dragon Ball. Dr. Slump. I want to say Dr. Slump was by Akira Toriyama, right?
I believe so. Now you got me going to check.
I know we're doing another. Yeah, Akira Toriyama. Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah,
losing my
he
mind.
did Doctor Slump.
Yeah, I for some reason when I was a kid, I read all of Dr. Slump. Like it wasn't even necessarily good per se, but I enjoyed it thoroughly. So it's like it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, oh man, they can do good work outside of what people find as like their best work, you know?
Absolutely. It's tricky though because it's kind of like what's an analogy that works well for this? So you know, like the problem with like one hit wonders in the '80s and the
Yeah,
'90s. Everybody has that band, like Devo, for instance. Everybody knows "Crack That Whip" as far as that goes. But you know, they have other music, and their other music is good. But getting exposure to that when you have the one thing that everyone knows is really, really hard.
yeah, yeah. And I think there's an interesting camp of people, or at least whenever I think about it, because people who are just, oh no, I don't bother watching that stuff because I don't like it, or they like the artwork and the style so much, like, oh, what else has he done, or what else has this artist done that might be a little different from what is currently being bandwagoned right now.
Yeah,
So like Rave Master. I don't know how many people like Rave Master. Personally, I I will always stand up for it. Like it's a good series and I will always recommend it to people like, "Oh, if you like the art style of like a fairy tale, you should check this out. If you like the art style of Dragon Ball Z, maybe don't check out Dr. Slump, but like look at other stuff that Akira Toriyama has done, like Chrono Trigger. It's which also that's a that's a that was something super cool when you had Dragon Ball-esque characters in a Final Fantasy-esque game. Best combination you could ever ask for.
Definitely. Now, on that note, let's hit you with a little bit of trivia here. Obviously, you're familiar with One Piece because you're able to talk to me about it. Are you familiar with God's Gift for the Future?
Maybe, depending on the Japanese title.
Don't remember the Japanese title, but it
Let me
was a
see.
one-shot done by Eiichiro Oda in 1993, and it's very similar in style to Death Note. On that note of other things that
Oh.
mangakas have done, it is absolutely amazing. And that the creative commitment that someone like Oda has combined with that Death Note style was a very interesting one shot, especially considering it was made in the early 90s.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I 100% forgot about Death Note. I really did.
You just hurt so many people's feelings.
I know I did. And that's because here's the thing. I read those religiously. Like I would go to Barnes and Noble and sit down and just read Death Note for hours. I can't believe I forgot about Death Note. I don't like I don't like how the end of the anime.
I agree on that. Though the Death Note anime's ending kind of left a sour taste,
I think it
knowing
did
that
for a
it
lot of
could have
people.
been better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I will say one of the interesting things to come out of it was I genuinely thought was the novel. I never read the novel, but I thought the idea of them continuing the Death Note world around like an evil version of L was super interesting.
I thought the idea was interesting, but I didn't get the chance to read it.
I never have either, but I remember one of my friends growing up was very, very much into Death Note and really liked everything Death Note. And I remember one day they came up to me and they said, do you like L? I was like, yeah, of course. Like, do you like Death Note? I was like, yeah, duh. The story's great. Animation or like the art style's very, very good. He's like, have you heard about Beyond Birthday? And I was like, what? And then and I don't know. And then he started talking about BB and I was like, okay, sure. And the idea of like the greatest detective against the greatest criminal was like a really cool idea.
Oh yeah, it's the idea is cool because it conjures the images of like spy versus spy,
Right,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
But like in my head it was like that's what Kira and L were, the greatest detective against the greatest criminal. For them trying to be like, no, it's somebody on the same intellectual level as L. And I was like, then that defeats the purpose in my head.
It deflates the character values of both because then you look at L and you're like, well, you're not as special anymore because there's another character that's on that same level as you, and then you look at the other character and go, you're just a knockoff of the original.
Right, yeah. Oh man, see, I'm so glad somebody understands that point. I'm so glad that somebody gets it.
Oh, absolutely.
Man. Okay. I keep thinking about all these series that I've forgotten about when I was a kid. What is one series that you loved, whether you read it or watched it as a kid? What is one series that you loved as a kid that you just don't find as interesting now?
Naruto. It was Naruto for me.
Really?
Early on, I had some interest in it because right after the Dragon Ball wave was the Naruto wave, and I wanted to fit in a little bit. I didn't tell anybody that I was watching One Piece at the time because I didn't want to be made fun of or anything like that.
Right.
God forbid, middle school and high school was hard enough, but you get to Naruto and the action is there, the story is there, but over time, one of my friends, I don't remember who exactly said it best. You either liked pirates or you liked ninjas. You didn't like both, and I went with pirates.
I mean, I can understand that because personally, now I like both. But when I was a kid, I was much more interested in ninjas than I was in pirates. Now I'm like, oh, both are super cool. Both have their qualities. But I for some reason, I remember liking Naruto and Bleach because that was the triumvirate when I was growing up. It was Bleach. You either were in Naruto Bleach or One Piece, or you liked an amalgamation of all three. But those were the three things that everybody was watching or reading when I was a kid. And I remembered loving Bleach so much, but just thinking that the way that they ended it was they did it kind of dirty, just a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that with Bleach, especially. It's kind of hard thinking back because that was a series that had so much going for it.
It really did.
And to have it end the way it did, it was like you've got this grand orchestra build up and it ends with a wet fart. It's just
Yeah, just
come
like a
on.
little ding. It's just I don't
The
know.
little triangle in the back is what
Yeah.
ends the big symphony, and you're just sitting there like, that's it, really?
Like that was kind of lackluster. Because okay, I will say there within every anime or within every series, there's always one arc that nobody likes. Everybody
I
has
already
that.
know.
So for Bleach, for me, it was the Fullbring arc. I hated the
I can
Fullbring
see
arc.
that.
I understood the concept of it, right? Of like, because here's how I understood it. Was Ichigo the whole time, even though he was human, what was it? His mother was a Quincy and his dad was a Soul Reaper or something. Major spoilers for Bleach, by the way, if you care. I know, right? Gasp. Um, but like the fact that he was human and then stole Rukia's powers. Basically, you could argue that the whole time up until the Fullbring saga, he was purely using borrowed soul power, like borrowed Ryatsu, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then basically the Fullbring arc was to get him to jumpstart his own power, like started from within, that was his own. And after that, I felt like the story got so good with the Quincy Rebellion. I felt like that whole arc was immaculate. Like, when he got his powers back, and then back to when he got his Zanpakuto reforged. Like, I remember going through that whole sequence and like screaming my head off when I read it. Like when I saw him holding like both of his swords, I was like, "Oh my god, this just got 100 times better." And then, I read it to the end and then felt really lackluster about the end of it. But it was always the Fullbring saga. Anytime I tell everybody like, "Oh, if you like anime like from back in the day, like watch and read Bleach, but you can skip the Fullbring saga." I always say that 100 times. 100 times out of 100 times I will always say that. So for you, what is it for One Piece?
Long Ring, Long Land. No
Really?
question. Long Ring, Long Land, and Foxy the Pirate. Oh my god, I wish I could have skipped that arc. I understand why it needed to happen.
That doesn't mean you
Because
liked it.
if you went from Water 7 straight to Marineford, you were going to burn out before Marineford was over. Those are two of the most intense arcs prior to the time skip.
That's fair.
Long Ring Longland was a necessary diversion. It was silly. It was funny. There was the whole Davy back fight where Luffy loses Chopper and Robin to the Foxy Pirates and has to play these ridiculous games to get them back, and ends up in a boxing match with Foxy and is wearing an afro, and then it's just what? But it just of all the arcs that I would consider forgettable, it's either that or like Syrup Village. But Syrup Village was 100% necessary because that introduces Usopp.
Yeah.
And plants the seeds of Yasop, his dad, who's in Red Haired Shanks' crew, and setting up those long-term pieces of story building. But we could all go without Foxy.
I think Usopp is genuinely an underrated character.
Absolutely. Character evolution early on, I can understand why people didn't like him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't contribute a whole lot. He was kind of like the cowardly lion of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, as more members have joined, him, Chopper, and Nami have all kind of filled up that cowards trio, so to speak.
Right.
But over time, he's developed into a very easy to appreciate character through his flaws and stuff like that. To me, it's more of a human quality instead of him being a perfect character, so to speak. And I think that's what appeals to me the most about all of the Straw Hats is they all have very clear flaws to their characters, whether it be traumatic experiences or genuine personality flaws, whatever they may be. But it makes them all easier to relate to, for me at least.
I can understand that because you want to be able to relate. And I think that's one reason why, I guess not necessarily that you can relate, but why so many people enjoy a lot of these, I guess, a lot of these popular anime and manga that come out is because you want to be those characters. Like you wish you could be that character that's given an opportunity to experience that character change.
Yeah, exactly.
I know for me, in high school, the one like trope category that really stood out to me was the isekai trope of like that being reborn in another world or like being just reborn in general with all your knowledge. And I was like, that would have been like my ultimate, like if that could happen to me more than like being in Dragon Ball, being in Yu-Gi-Oh, being in Pokemon, I would love to be a character in that kind of a story. Like that would be the greatest thing to me.
I think for me, the idea that I always stuck with was probably the noble climax element that's become more and more prevalent in One Piece
Mhm.
over the years, but it was hinted at. Especially with characters like Roger and like Ace, who, they lived their life, and when they were done, they went out with a smile on their face, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It inspires me to live my life with no regrets, kind of thing.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
at the end of the day, we're here for a good time, not a long time. You better enjoy it while you're here.
That's it. See, I mentioned this on a recording I did earlier this week, and I was like, you have two camps. Life is long, so you might as well enjoy it, or life is hard and then you die. See, I think you have both camps right there.
Here for a good time, not a long
Yeah,
time.
good time. Yeah. Okay, so here's the last question that we'll pose before we sign off for the day. So, you've been seeing a lot of stuff about remasters and remakes, right? Especially around like Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is right now going through like a whole thing where they're
Yeah,
doing.
it's a new genesis
I'm
for Final
so
Fantasy.
so so excited for it. You've no idea. Like they're coming out with a Final Fantasy 9 anime, which is going to be so good. They're coming out with the repixels, or was it? Crap. See, now I want to get all my stuff. It's called uh, Final Fantasy Pixel something Pixel Remaster. So that's what it's called. It's called Pixel Remaster, and they're basically re-releasing 1 through 6 again, which super excited for because I love those games. Those are some of the best games to ever come out of like the Game Boy Advance era in my head, other than like Golden Sun. Um, they also did the Final Fantasy VII remaster, which is getting wildly popular. They also did a Final Fantasy VIII remaster where they beefed up the the quality of the graphics and the animations and all that stuff. So, Shaman King recently got their remaster or their re-release, right? From that era of like say about 1995 to 2010, what is one anime that you would like to see get a remaster or just a re-release?
I, especially with what we talked about earlier, I'd love to see Berserk get a proper second
Yes.
chance.
Yes.
The Berserk anime adaptation had its moments, but it wasn't anywhere near what the manga was able to produce. And I would love to see that given one last hurrah, kind of like movie style treatment as a tribute to the late mangaka of the series.
So, are you talking about live action or all just an anime adaptation?
I would prefer an animated
Yep.
adaptation, but live action, I could see it working, but there's going to be inherent drawbacks with that.
Right, because there is, like I said, it's very adult oriented. There's a lot of adult scenes that are in that.
Yeah, to me, it's like this was something that somebody took the time to bring into this world as their own art. Let us pay tribute to it by making it our art and doing the animation and
Oh,
the visuals. Let's do this right and
yeah.
leave that final little bit of a legacy.
Yeah, because okay, and that's to be fair, I've seen a lot of the Berserk movies, and they're not bad movies by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh no,
I just feel like in those the animation in certain spots was very lacking. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the anime Overlord at all.
I'm passingly familiar. Yeah. I know my wife is a big fan of Overlord.
It's
So
very good. But so like it has that classic like anime look that you whenever you see an anime, like, oh, that's obviously an anime. But then it also has like this weird 3D animation with a lot of the background characters. And that's what I
yeah, I got you.
wasn't really a big fan of. And that's largely what a lot of Berserk was that like 3D animated inside a 2D animation. And that I felt was really weird to me.
Yeah,
So I 100% agree. If they could do something where it's just the whole series in just one style, where it's just front to back, just the same style, really good, really solid, and it tells the story, I'd be happy with that. 100% agree with that.
that one gets me emotional a little bit because like I said earlier, I have a very immense respect for what Berserk was able to do in the printed medium. So giving that one proper final treatment, just as if nothing else, as a thank you from all of us who have enjoyed that series to the family of the late mangaka, that I'd be happy.
I think this also shows to the effect that people who are in that industry can have on people. It's not just, comics. And people who love comics will argue with this too. It's not just drawings and drawing pictures in a storyline. Like you can feel the work and the love that goes into it. Maybe it's not love all the time, but like you can feel the effort that goes into it. And so I would, yeah, because I remember when I heard about his passing, that everybody in Final Fantasy 14 lined the main causeways. I think it was of like New Gridania or Limsa Lominsa. Like they had everybody in that. What job was it? It was a very specific job that was like that you could argue was modeled directly after Guts from Berserk. And it's super interesting too because you have a lot of people within Square Enix who were, making these games that said Berserk directly influenced the birth of Final Fantasy. And so when you think about it that way, like that's even crazier. So it makes me want to be like, yes, let's do this. Like, absolutely, let's do this right. Because like in my head, it's that thing of like you don't want to. It was like the Sonic movie that they came out with. When people saw the original models, they were like, "What is this garbage?" I feel like if you did Berserk the wrong way, you would get the exact same reaction.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you do it right, it'll be a beautiful and touching thing. But if you do it wrong, oh boy, you better stay off social media for a little
Yeah,
while.
no, yeah, you would like. There's gonna be a witch hunt for everything that you do if you mess that up.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, that's see. Now I dream. Now I want to dream about a good Berserk anime. And but that's fair. Let's say this real quick though. That's my opinion that it is good, that everything that Berserk has done so far was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't something I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch this over and over again. It was like, oh yeah, I can watch this once and then, really not think about it again. I want
Yeah.
something for Berserk that's like it'll be classic and it'll be something like, oh, if you like that kind of style, you like that kind of story and you're okay with that, absolutely watch Berserk. Because nowadays I'm always like, no, just read it. You get a lot more with the animation or with the artwork that went into it. You get a lot more with just like how he shaded it and how he made it in the manga. 100%, I would always recommend to watch it or to read it over watch it. So I kind of want the reverse effect. It's like, oh no, absolutely 100% watch it. Like you can read it first if you want, but watch it 100%. So
Agreed.
because that's what I do with Full Metal Alchemist all the time. I'm like, oh, absolutely 100% watch Full Metal. But like if you want full context of like the story, read the manga, but you can watch Full Metal by itself and it's amazing. So that's kind of what I want from Berserk.
One can hope. One can hope.
I mean, look, man, if they could remaster the pixel versions of Final Fantasy, then anything is possible. So
Amen to that.
I know. So no, thank you. I'm so glad I got to talk about anime and manga for a full hour. This has been great.
Also, before I go, I'm surprised there was one Piece fact I was expecting you to try to bring up in the trivia portion of this that you didn't, and I'm kind of surprised you didn't.
Oh,
Did you know that one of the main characters, a member of the Straw Hats, was originally supposed to be named Naruto?
no way.
Yes, the only reason they changed the name is because of the release of the manga of Naruto. Can you guess who it was?
Okay, because here's the thing. Naruto's a little spirally thing, right? There's a little spiral. So based on that information, and it's one of the Straw Hats,
Yes, it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if you told me it was Chopper.
It actually wasn't Chopper.
Who was it?
It was Sanji.
No.
Yep,
Oh,
Sanji
that's
was
right.
supposed to be
Yeah,
named
'cause
Naruto.
yeah.
Curly brows.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna get there with the spiral thing. I was like, he's on the right track. He's gonna get it.
Oh no, because I completely forgot about Sanji's eyebrows. Oh no, just for some reason it's like Chopper. Because in my head, Chopper just seems so out of place. Like the name Chopper does.
Oh, I can see that. But yeah,
So-
it was Sanji. So
I could have seen that just be like, oh crap, we can't put in Naruto. Chopper. I like bikes. Chopper works. Oh, that's really funny. I didn't know. That's okay. There you go. Everybody can file that away in your useless trivia facts.
yeah, and in some of one of the last issues of Naruto, you can find a hidden Easter egg of a mini replica of either I don't remember who it was the Going Merry or the Thousand Sunny, but of the Straw Hat ship.
I think it's the Going Merry.
And then there's also references to Naruto when Naruto's manga was ending in One Piece. I believe there's references there as well.
Oh,
If I remember right, it was like a cover where Nami is wearing a dress that has that famous design on it, and it's a very subtle but obvious little nod of respect between the two.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I'll have to check that out. So plug yourself everywhere. People want to find you.
Yeah, on Twitter you can find me at itsaqtktrackpad, all one word, no capital letters, nothing fancy like that. And aquatic is spelled AQTK. On Instagram, you can find me at trackpad_aquatic. And on Twitch, you can find me at twitch.tv/itsaqtktrackpad, spelled the same way as my Twitter handle. We're actually about to be eligible to apply for affiliate over there, so I would appreciate any support there that you're willing to give.
No, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on again. This is super fun.
Yeah, of course.
And to everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. And just remember that you need water and sunshine because you're basically a houseplant with complicated human emotion. Bye. Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, the last episode in our Aquatik Esports arc. Hopefully this signals the beginning of like season 2, I think. We're starting to get into more stuff that is a lot deeper, I feel like. So keep an eye out for more announcements. I don't know how long I'm going to wait to, or if I'm going to wait to upload the new season, but just keep an eye out. We have some really interesting stuff coming, so hopefully you'll be around for it. And we'll definitely see you on the next one.